as the sun dips below the horizon, painting the Roman Forum in hues of amber and rose, a gentle stillness descends. The bustling marketplace, vibrant just hours before, now whispers secrets to the approaching twilight. The air, still warm from the day's heat, carries the faint scent of wood smoke and distant cooking fires. Long shadows stretch from the imposing structures, the Colosseum a silent giant against the fading light, its stones worn smooth by the passage of centuries. A lone owl hoots from a nearby rooftop, its call echoing softly through the deserted arches. This is Rome at dusk, a time for reflection, a time for stories. Tonight, we journey back to this very place, to a time when the Forum echoed not only with the sounds of daily life, but also with the pronouncements of justice, a justice often expressed in ways that seem bizarre and unsettling to our modern sensibilities. We will explore the unusual punishments meted out in ancient Rome, a journey through history that will reveal much about the society that inflicted them and the values that shaped their systems of law and order. But let me reassure you, our exploration will be a gentle one. We will focus on the symbolic and culturally significant aspects of these punishments, avoiding graphic detail. Instead, we will delve into the context of these acts, examining the beliefs and social structures that gave rise to them. Think of this not as a morbid recitation of cruelty, but as a quiet contemplation of a bygone era, a journey through the echoes of the past. Imagine yourself strolling through these very streets, the cool stone beneath your feet, the night air carrying the weight of history. As the last vestiges of sunlight fade, the stories of ancient Rome begin to unfold. The Forum, once a scene of political intrigue and public spectacle, now transforms into a canvas for our historical exploration. The whispers of the past become audible, the remnants of forgotten lives revealing themselves in the very stones beneath our feet. We will consider the nature of justice in a world vastly different from our own, a world where the line between punishment and spectacle was often blurred. We'll uncover the rationale behind these seemingly unusual methods of retribution, understanding the context in which they were employed. We'll examine the social and political forces that shaped the Roman legal system, uncovering the intricate tapestry of beliefs, customs, and power dynamics that influenced the severity and nature of punishment. The punishments themselves will serve as windows into the hearts and minds of the people who lived in ancient Rome, offering a glimpse into their values, fears, and aspirations. As the night deepens and the stars begin to appear in the darkening sky above the Roman Forum, we'll delve into the specifics, revealing the fascinating and sometimes disturbing details of these ancient legal practices. Each punishment, a unique chapter in this historical narrative, will be explored with sensitivity and respect for the past. Prepare yourself for a journey that is both informative and strangely captivating, a journey that will transport you to a time long past, a time when the very stones of Rome held the weight of centuries of legal history. The quiet rustle of leaves in the nearby trees, the distant calls of nocturnal animals, these gentle sounds will accompany us as we uncover the hidden stories of ancient Rome. Let the tranquility of the night settle over you as we begin our exploration, a journey into the heart of a civilization both magnificent and perplexing. Close your eyes and let the whispers of the past carry you away. Let's begin. Now, let us consider a punishment less dramatic in its immediate execution, yet far more chilling in its implications. Damnatio memoriae, the condemnation of memory. Unlike the public spectacle of floggings or executions, this punishment operated in the shadows, a silent erasure from the historical record. It was a slow, insidious process, designed not to inflict physical pain, but to annihilate a person's very existence, leaving them as if they had never been. Imagine, if you will, a world where your name, your deeds, your very presence are systematically expunged from history. Your statues are toppled, your images defaced, your name scrubbed from inscriptions and official documents. Not just a death sentence, but an annihilation of your legacy, a silencing that extends beyond the grave. This was damnatio memoriae, a chilling act of state-sponsored forgetting. The process was methodical, almost surgical in its precision. Sculptures and busts, once symbols of power and prestige, were smashed and discarded, their fragments scattered to the winds. Inscriptions bearing the condemned's name were meticulously chiseled away, their words erased as if they had never been written. Official records were altered, names replaced, stories rewritten. The condemned person was not merely punished. They were rendered invisible, their life reduced to a void, a blank space in the tapestry of history. This was not a mere act of vandalism. It was a calculated attempt to obliterate the memory of an individual, to ensure that their influence and legacy were completely erased. It was a symbolic death, more profound in many ways than physical death, because it extended to future generations, robbing them of the opportunity to learn from or even remember the condemned person. Consider the chilling effect on the condemned and their families. The destruction of statues and records was not just a symbolic act. It represented a complete severing of ties with the past, a denial of their existence. For the families, it meant a legacy of silence, a history deliberately suppressed, their ancestor reduced to a ghost, a name whispered only in hushed tones, if at all. The quiet, almost invisible nature of this punishment makes it all the more unsettling. There was no public spectacle, no dramatic display of power. The punishment unfolded slowly, subtly, erasing the individual piece by piece, a meticulous dismantling of their identity, their influence, and ultimately, their memory. The chilling efficiency of damnatio memoriae lay in its capacity to extend beyond the individual, affecting their family, their associates, and their posterity. The fear of this punishment acted as a powerful deterrent, a silent threat that loomed over those who dared to challenge the authority of the Roman state. It served as a potent reminder of the absolute power wielded by those in command, a power capable of reaching beyond the boundaries of life and death itself. The act of destroying statues and records was not merely a physical act of destruction. It was a profound symbolic act, a powerful statement of the state's power to control not only the present, but also the past and the future. It was a warning to others, a chilling reminder of the consequences of disloyalty or opposition. The condemned were not simply punished. They were erased, their very existence denied. As we contemplate this chilling form of punishment, let us reflect on its implications for the Roman state and its citizens. Damnatio memoriae reveals a society that valued control over memory, a society that feared the potential for dissent and rebellion, even after death. It was a punishment that sought to control the narrative of history itself, to ensure that only the approved version of events would survive. This chilling practice, while seemingly silent and invisible, served as a potent tool of control, a reminder of the absolute power of the Roman state. It stands as a testament to the lengths to which those in power would go to suppress dissent and control the narrative of history, leaving behind a legacy of silence and erasure. The ghosts of those condemned to damnatio memoriae linger in the gaps and silences of the historical record, a haunting reminder of the fragility of memory and the power of those who seek to control it. The faint whispers of their forgotten lives serve as a chilling counterpoint to the grand narratives of Roman history. Their absence speaks volumes. And so, we move on to another peculiar form of Roman justice. Now, let us turn our attention to a punishment that, while less overtly violent than others we've discussed, inflicted a different kind of suffering. Infamia, the loss of civic rights and social standing. Unlike the immediate and physical pain of flogging or the spectral erasure of damnatio memoriae, infamia was a slow, insidious erosion of a person's life, a gradual descent into social isolation and legal impotence. It was a punishment that targeted not the body, but the soul, the standing, the very fabric of an individual's existence within Roman society. Imagine a world where your voice no longer carries weight, where your opinions are dismissed, your testimony disregarded, your very presence met with disdain. This was the reality for those condemned to infamia. It was a punishment that affected every aspect of their lives, from the most mundane to the most significant. It was a social death, a slow strangulation of one's connection to the community and the wider world. The legal consequences were severe. Those declared infames lost the right to hold public office, to serve in the military, or to participate in political life. Their testimony in court was inadmissible, rendering them vulnerable to exploitation and injustice. They were barred from many professions, limiting their economic opportunities and condemning them to a life of poverty and marginalization. Their status as infames was a mark of disgrace, a constant reminder of their social downfall. But the impact of infamia extended far beyond the legal realm. It was a deeply social punishment, one that permeated every facet of daily life. The subtle ways in which this condemnation manifested itself are perhaps even more telling than the explicit legal restrictions. Picture a Roman citizen, once respected and held in high regard, now shunned by friends and neighbors. The once familiar smiles become strained, replaced by averted gazes and whispered conversations. Invitations to social gatherings cease, replaced by a chilling silence. The vibrant tapestry of social life, once a source of comfort and connection, unravels, leaving behind a tapestry of isolation and loneliness. The very act of engaging in daily life was transformed. A simple transaction in the marketplace could become an ordeal, met with suspicion and distrust. Even the most routine interactions were laden with tension, each encounter a reminder of their diminished status. The casual greetings, the shared laughter, the friendly banter, all were replaced by a chilling sense of exclusion, a constant awareness of their social pariah status. The gradual isolation was perhaps the most insidious aspect of this punishment. It was not a sudden expulsion, but a slow, subtle erosion of social ties, a gradual withdrawal of affection, respect, and community. This slow burn, this gradual diminishing of one's social standing, was perhaps the most agonizing aspect of infamia. The psychological impact of this social death cannot be overstated. The constant awareness of being outcast, of being regarded with disdain, would have been a heavy burden to bear. The loss of social standing, the erosion of community ties, the inability to fully participate in life, these were not mere inconveniences, but profound wounds to the spirit. The chilling implications of infamia are far-reaching. It reveals a society deeply concerned with maintaining social order and hierarchy, a society that utilized social ostracism as a powerful tool of control. It was a punishment that went beyond the mere infliction of pain or the deprivation of rights. It was a systematic annihilation of a person's social standing and their very sense of self. This punishment, therefore, serves as a powerful reminder of the importance of social standing and acceptance in ancient Roman society, and how the deprivation of these could be a more devastating punishment than physical retribution. It wasn't just a legal matter, but a deep social wound, slowly and meticulously inflicted. The quiet suffering of those condemned to infamia serves as a poignant reminder of the complex and often brutal mechanisms of Roman justice, moving us to consider the next peculiar punishment. Now, let's journey to the fringes of the Roman Empire, to the desolate landscapes where another form of punishment unfolded: exile or relegatio. Unlike the immediate and visceral punishments we've examined, exile was a slow, agonizing process of separation, a gradual fading from the familiar landscape of one's life. It was a punishment that didn't just remove a person from their home. It severed their connection to community, family, and identity, leaving behind a void filled with uncertainty and isolation. The Roman concept of exile wasn't monolithic. It encompassed a spectrum of restrictions, from relatively lenient forms of banishment to complete expulsion from the empire. Some exiles were confined to a specific region, allowed to maintain some semblance of their former life, albeit under constant surveillance and with limited freedoms. Others were sent to remote and inhospitable locations, left to fend for themselves in harsh, and unforgiving environments. The severity of the exile mirrored the gravity of the crime, a reflection of Roman justice's intricate system of punishments. Imagine the scene: a Roman citizen, perhaps a senator, a soldier, or a commoner, stripped of their rights and possessions, embarking on a journey to a distant land. The familiar streets of Rome, the bustling marketplaces, the comforting rhythm of daily life, all fading into the distance, replaced by the unknown. The journey itself would have been arduous, fraught with physical hardship and emotional turmoil. The anticipation of the unknown, the fear of the unfamiliar, would have been a constant companion. Once arrived at their destination, the reality of exile would have settled in. The isolation would have been profound. No longer surrounded by familiar faces, no longer part of a vibrant community, the exiled individual would have found themselves adrift in a sea of loneliness. The sounds, the smells, the very feel of their new environment would be alien, a constant reminder of their separation from everything they held dear. The emotional impact of exile was devastating. The loss of connection to family and friends was a profound wound. The fading of memories, the gradual erosion of one's identity, would have been a slow, agonizing process. The exiled person would have struggled to reconcile their past with their present, grappling with the loss of their former life, their sense of belonging, and their place in the world. Consider the subtle ways in which exile manifested itself. The absence of familiar rituals, the lack of shared experiences, the inability to participate in community life, all contributed to a profound sense of alienation. The simple act of conversation, once a source of comfort and connection, could become a painful reminder of their isolation. The shared laughter, the familiar gossip, the comfort of shared experiences, all were lost, replaced by a chilling silence. And then there was the uncertainty of the future. Exiles lived with the constant threat of further punishment, the ever-present fear of never returning home. Their prospects were bleak, their hopes for a better future uncertain. The passage of time, instead of bringing healing, might only deepen their sense of loss and despair. The physical hardships of exile were also significant. Many exiles were sent to remote and inhospitable regions, where they faced harsh weather conditions, limited resources, and a constant threat of disease. The struggle for survival would have been a daily battle, adding another layer of hardship to their already difficult circumstances. The experience of exile, therefore, was a multifaceted punishment impacting every aspect of the exiled individual's life. It was a slow, agonizing process of separation, isolation, and uncertainty, a punishment that targeted not just the body, but the very essence of a person's being. The accounts of exile in Roman literature paint a picture of profound loneliness and despair. The exiled individual, cut off from their community and their past, is left to confront their own mortality in the face of isolation and uncertainty. This punishment, therefore, serves as a stark reminder of the human need for connection, for belonging, and for a sense of place in the world. The chilling silence of exile underscores the profound impact of this punishment, leading us to consider the next unusual aspect of Roman justice. Now, let us turn our attention to a punishment that was both brutal and strangely ritualistic, the fustuarium. This was not simply a killing. It was a public spectacle, a meticulously choreographed act of violence that served as a potent symbol of Roman military justice. Unlike the solitary confinement of exile or the slow erosion of infamia, the fustuarium was a communal act, involving the entire unit in the execution of one of their own. Imagine the scene: a Roman legion, assembled not for battle, but for a grim ceremony. The condemned soldier, stripped of his rank and dignity, stands before his comrades, his face a mask of fear and shame. The air hangs heavy with anticipation, the silence broken only by the rustle of armor and the occasional nervous cough. This is not a swift, merciful death. It is a prolonged and agonizing beating, a ritualistic cleansing of a legion's honor. The fustuarium was reserved for the most serious offenses within the Roman military: cowardice, desertion, insubordination, or acts that brought shame upon the legion. It was a punishment that transcended the simple act of retribution. It was a symbolic purging of the unit, a reaffirmation of its collective identity and the strict code of conduct that governed its members. The weapons of this brutal ritual were simple: clubs and staves, wielded not by executioners, but by the very men who once stood shoulder to shoulder with the condemned soldier. This was not a detached act of justice. It was a deeply personal and emotionally charged event, forcing each soldier to confront the consequences of their comrades' actions. The act of participating in the beating was a ritualistic reaffirmation of their loyalty to the legion and their adherence to its code. The process itself was meticulously structured. The condemned soldier was not simply beaten to death. The ritual was infused with a chilling choreography. The blows were not random, but deliberate, each strike a symbolic gesture of rejection and condemnation. The collective nature of the punishment emphasized the community's role in maintaining order and discipline within the legion. The shame associated with the fustuarium was profound. It was not merely the physical pain, it was the public humiliation, the utter loss of dignity and respect. To be condemned to the fustuarium was to be ostracized, to be stripped of one's identity as a soldier, and to be forever marked as a disgrace to the legion. The memory of the event would linger, a constant reminder of the soldier's transgression and the collective judgment of his peers. The fustuarium wasn't solely about punishment. It was a powerful demonstration of the Roman military's social control mechanisms. The legion was a tightly knit community, bound by loyalty, discipline, and a shared sense of purpose. The fustuarium served to reinforce these bonds, ensuring that every member understood the consequences of violating the legion's code. It acted as a potent deterrent, a stark reminder of the price of disobedience. Consider the psychological impact on the soldiers who participated in the fustuarium. They were forced to confront the brutality of their actions, to grapple with the moral implications of their involvement in the death of a fellow soldier. This could have led to feelings of guilt, trauma, and even a questioning of their own loyalty and commitment to the legion. The punishment, therefore, extended beyond the condemned soldier, impacting the psychological well-being of the entire unit. The fustuarium, therefore, transcends simple brutality. It was a complex ritual, a meticulously orchestrated act of violence that served both as a punishment and as a powerful symbol of Roman military justice. The communal aspect of the execution, the carefully choreographed violence, and the profound shame associated with it all contributed to its effectiveness as a tool of social control. It was a punishment that resonated deeply within the Roman military, reinforcing its hierarchical structure, its commitment to discipline, and its unwavering loyalty to Rome. This intricate ritual, this brutal spectacle, serves as a window into the Roman mind, revealing the values, beliefs, and anxieties that shaped Roman society. The fustuarium stands as a testament to the harsh realities of Roman military life and the lengths to which the Roman Empire would go to maintain order and discipline within its ranks. The echoes of this barbaric practice remind us that justice, in its various forms, is often a reflection of the society that administers it. And as we delve further into the annals of Roman history, we uncover even more unsettling examples of how the Romans dealt with those who transgressed their laws. The next punishment we shall examine is a particularly chilling one indeed. We now journey deeper into the unsettling landscape of Roman justice to explore the realm of summa supplicia, the supreme punishments. These were not mere penalties. They were statements, pronouncements of societal rejection, delivered with chilling precision and symbolic weight. Unlike the relatively straightforward exile or the communal violence of the fustuarium, the summa supplicia encompassed a diverse array of punishments, each carefully chosen to inflict maximum suffering, both physical and social. The selection of a summa supplicia was not arbitrary. Each punishment carried a specific symbolic meaning, reflecting the nature of the crime and the societal values being upheld. The severity of the punishment was directly proportional to the gravity of the offense, ensuring that the consequences matched the perceived transgression. This was not simply about retribution. It was about reinforcing societal norms and demonstrating the power of the Roman state. One form of summa supplicia involved crucifixion, a particularly agonizing and public execution. The condemned were nailed to a cross, often left to die slowly, exposed to the elements and the scorn of onlookers. This punishment served not only as a deterrent, but also as a powerful symbol of Roman dominance and the utter subjugation of the offender. The image of the crucified body, hanging stark against the Roman sky, became a chilling reminder of the consequences of defying the state. Another method of summa supplicia involved being thrown to wild animals in the arena. This spectacle, a horrifying blend of entertainment and punishment, provided a visceral demonstration of the state's power and the utter helplessness of the condemned. The arena, a stage for both glory and death, became the setting for this gruesome display, transforming the condemned into a symbol of societal rejection, their fate sealed by the roar of the crowd. Beyond these more widely known forms of punishment, the summa supplicia included a range of other horrifying methods. Burning at the stake, a punishment reserved for the most heinous crimes, provided a spectacle of fiery destruction, a visual representation of the annihilation of the offender's being. The flames, consuming the body and soul, serve as a powerful symbol of the state's wrath and the ultimate rejection of the condemned. In some instances, the summa supplicia involved a combination of punishments, layering suffering upon suffering to ensure the ultimate humiliation and destruction of the offender. This approach underscored the severity of the crime and the determination of the Roman state to make an example of the condemned. The cumulative impact of these punishments sought to not only destroy the individual, but to also shatter their reputation and erase any trace of their existence from Roman memory. The symbolic meaning of these punishments extended beyond the act of retribution. They served as powerful tools of social control, deterring potential offenders and reinforcing the existing social order. The public nature of these punishments ensured that the message was disseminated widely, reinforcing the state's authority and the consequences of violating its laws. The spectacle of suffering, though gruesome, served as a potent reminder of the Roman state's unwavering power. The variety within the summa supplicia reflects the sophisticated approach to punishment employed by the Roman state. It wasn't a matter of simply inflicting pain. It was a carefully considered strategy to convey specific messages, to instill fear, and to reinforce social norms. Each punishment, in its own way, communicated the state's power, the severity of the crime, and the unwavering commitment to upholding Roman law. They were not merely executions, but meticulously crafted dramas designed to shape public opinion and reinforce the authority of the Roman state. The chilling legacy of the summa supplicia reminds us of the stark contrast between the sophistication of Roman civilization and the brutal realities of its justice system. These punishments, though extreme by modern standards, provide a valuable insight into the workings of Roman society, its values, and its methods of maintaining order and control. They serve as a sobering reminder of the diverse and often brutal ways in which societies have, throughout history, dealt with those who have transgressed their laws. The stories of these punishments are not merely tales of cruelty. They are windows into the past, offering glimpses into the complex and often unsettling workings of a powerful empire. As we continue our exploration of Roman punishments, we will delve into even more specific examples, examining the individual nuances and symbolic significance of each. The next punishment we will explore reveals another chilling aspect of Roman justice, one that reflects not only the state's power, but also the deep-seated anxieties of Roman society. Let's now consider. Let us turn our attention to a punishment that has become synonymous with Roman brutality: crucifixion. More than a mere execution, crucifixion was a meticulously crafted spectacle of suffering, designed not only to end a life, but to inflict prolonged agony and public humiliation. It was a punishment reserved for the lowest of the low, a stark reminder of the rigid social hierarchy that governed Roman society. Imagine the scene: a bustling Roman road, the air thick with anticipation. A condemned individual, stripped bare, is bound to a rough-hewn wooden cross. The weight of the wood, the harshness of the ropes, the searing pain of the nails driven through flesh, all combine to create a symphony of suffering. This was not a swift death. It was a slow, agonizing process, a prolonged ordeal designed to break the spirit and body alike. The slow, deliberate nature of crucifixion was integral to its effectiveness as a punishment. The condemned was left exposed to the elements, vulnerable to the scorching sun, the chilling winds, the relentless rain. Each passing hour brought new waves of pain, a relentless assault on the body and mind. Dehydration, exhaustion, and infection would eventually claim their victim, but the process was protracted, drawn out, a testament to the Roman commitment to inflicting maximum suffering. Crucifixion was not simply a private affair. It was a public spectacle, a gruesome display intended to deter potential criminals and reinforce the authority of the Roman state. The body of the condemned, hanging starkly against the landscape, served as a chilling reminder of the consequences of defying Roman law. Passers-by, both high and low, would witness this agonizing display, their own fear and obedience reinforced by the sight of the crucified victim. The choice of crucifixion as a punishment was not arbitrary. It was a carefully considered strategy designed to convey specific messages to Roman society. The condemned, stripped of their dignity and exposed to public scorn, became a symbol of the utter rejection of the Roman state. Their suffering was not just a private matter. It was a public lesson, a dramatic reminder of the consequences of violating societal norms. Beyond the physical suffering, crucifixion inflicted deep psychological trauma. The prolonged agony, the public humiliation, the complete loss of control, all contributed to a sense of utter despair. The condemned individual, stripped of their humanity and reduced to a mere spectacle, was left to confront their own mortality in the most agonizing way imaginable. Crucifixion was not simply about ending a life. It was about breaking a spirit, crushing a soul, and making a public example of the condemned. The symbolism of crucifixion extended beyond the individual suffering of the condemned. It was a powerful statement about the Roman state's power and its unwavering commitment to upholding the law. The crucified body, hanging as a stark warning, served as a chilling testament to the consequences of challenging Roman authority. The very act of crucifixion, with its slow, agonizing nature and public display, was a carefully crafted performance designed to instill fear and obedience in the hearts of Roman citizens. The location of crucifixions was also carefully chosen, often placed along major roads, near towns, or in other highly visible locations. The crucified body served as a constant, somber reminder of the consequences of transgression. The public nature of these executions ensured that the message was disseminated widely, reinforcing the state's authority and the consequences of defying its laws. The spectacle of suffering, however gruesome, served as a potent reminder of Roman power. Crucifixion, therefore, was not simply a method of execution. It was a complex social ritual, a carefully orchestrated performance designed to reinforce social order and the authority of the Roman state. It was a punishment reserved for the lowest of criminals, a stark symbol of social rejection and the ultimate consequence of defying the laws of Rome. Its legacy continues to resonate in our collective consciousness, a chilling testament to the brutality and complexity of Roman justice. As we reflect on this brutal practice, we are reminded once again of the stark realities of life in ancient Rome, a world where justice and punishment were often intertwined in ways that are difficult for us to fully comprehend. The lingering image of the crucified figure, silhouetted against the Roman sky, stands as a potent symbol of the power of the state and the profound suffering it could inflict. But it also serves as a reminder of the enduring human capacity for both cruelty and resilience. Let us now delve into a punishment that struck at the very heart of the Roman military: decimation. Unlike the public spectacles of crucifixion or the brutal ritual of fustuarium, decimation operated on a different plane, wielding its power through terror and the insidious erosion of morale. It was a punishment not just for individual soldiers, but for an entire unit, a chilling reminder of the absolute authority wielded by Roman commanders. Imagine a Roman legion, weary from a long campaign, perhaps defeated in battle or guilty of some grave infraction. The air hangs heavy with tension, the very ground seeming to vibrate with unspoken fear. The commander, his face grim, his voice echoing across the assembled ranks, announces the dreaded sentence: decimation. 1 in 10 men will die. The process itself was as terrifying as the sentence itself. There was no trial, no defense, no opportunity for appeal. The fate of each soldier rested not on evidence or judgment, but on the fickle hand of chance. Lots were drawn, small pieces of wood or pebbles, each carrying the weight of life or death. The suspense, the palpable anxiety hanging in the air, must have been excruciating. The chosen men, 1 in 10, were then subjected to execution. The methods varied, depending on the commander's whim and the resources at hand. Sometimes it was a simple, swift death by the sword. Other times, the punishment was more protracted, more agonizing, a gruesome reminder of the commander's power and the consequences of failure. The sheer randomness of the selection, the knowledge that any man could be next, instilled a deep-seated terror amongst the ranks. The psychological impact of decimation extended far beyond the immediate victims. The survivors, haunted by the memory of their fallen comrades, were forced to live with the constant weight of uncertainty. The bonds of camaraderie, so crucial in the tightly knit world of the Roman legion, were shattered, replaced by suspicion and fear. Each soldier, knowing that he might be the next to face death, lived with a constant sense of dread. Decimation was not simply a punishment. It was a tool for instilling discipline and maintaining order within the legions. It was a brutal method designed to shock soldiers into obedience, to remind them of the consequences of disobedience or failure. The sheer terror of the random selection, the brutal execution of comrades, and the lasting psychological trauma on the survivors worked to create a climate of fear and unwavering loyalty. The effectiveness of decimation as a disciplinary tool was debatable. While it undoubtedly instilled fear, it also had the potential to erode morale and breed resentment. The random nature of the punishment could lead to feelings of injustice and unfairness, undermining the very authority it was intended to uphold. The survivors, burdened by the trauma of witnessing the deaths of their comrades, might be less effective soldiers, their morale crushed by fear and uncertainty. Yet, the very act of decimation served as a powerful demonstration of the Roman military's power and its unwavering commitment to discipline. The public nature of the executions, the stark reminder of the consequences of failure, served to instill a deep-seated fear in the hearts of the soldiers, a fear that often overshadowed any feelings of resentment or injustice. Decimation, therefore, was not simply a punishment. It was a complex social and military ritual, a carefully calibrated instrument of control. It was designed to instill discipline, maintain order, and remind soldiers of the ultimate consequences of failure. Its effectiveness remains a subject of debate, but its chilling legacy endures as a testament to the brutal realities of life in the Roman army. As we reflect on this grim practice, we gain a deeper understanding of the Roman military's methods and the lengths to which they would go to maintain control and discipline. The image of the Roman legion, shadowed by the ever-present threat of decimation, serves as a stark reminder of the harsh realities of ancient warfare and the psychological toll it took on those who participated. The legacy of decimation, both as a disciplinary tool and a chilling tale of terror and uncertainty, continues to resonate through history. It stands as a testament to the brutal efficiency of the Roman military machine and the human cost of maintaining order and discipline in times of war. The whispers of decimation, echoing across the centuries, remind us of the profound impact of fear on the human spirit and the enduring power of collective trauma. The legacy of this chilling practice continues to shape our understanding of ancient warfare, highlighting the stark contrast between the glory of military conquest and the brutal reality of maintaining order and discipline within the Roman legions. The random selection, the brutal executions, the psychological scars left on the survivors. These are the indelible marks of decimation, a punishment that transcended mere justice to become a potent symbol of terror and control. Now, let us turn our attention to a punishment that was as much a spectacle as it was an execution: ad bestias. This wasn't simply a death sentence. It was a public performance, a terrifying drama played out before a throng of spectators in the vast arenas of ancient Rome. The condemned were thrown to wild animals, lions, tigers, bears, even elephants, in a gruesome display of power, justice, and perhaps most unsettlingly, entertainment. Imagine the scene. The sun beats down on the packed arena, the air thick with the roar of the crowd. The condemned, stripped of their dignity, stands alone in the center of the sand, surrounded by a sea of expectant faces. Their fate is sealed, their last moments measured out in the anticipation of the approaching beasts. The sheer terror of the unknown, the visceral dread of facing a wild animal, must have been almost unbearable. The condemned didn't simply face death. They faced a terrifying uncertainty. Would it be a swift, merciful end or a prolonged, agonizing struggle? Would the animal strike quickly, or would the condemned endure a horrific display of mauling and tearing before finally succumbing? The sheer unpredictability of the event, the lack of control over one's own fate, added a layer of psychological horror to the physical suffering. The anticipation itself must have been a torment. The condemned would likely have spent days, perhaps weeks, in the shadow of their impending doom, the knowledge of their fate hanging heavy over them. The sounds of the arena, the roar of the crowd, the cries of other victims, all served as a constant reminder of their impending fate. The psychological pressure, the slow erosion of hope, must have been almost as agonizing as the eventual encounter with the beasts. The ad bestia's punishment wasn't simply about inflicting death. It was about spectacle, about public display. It was a form of entertainment for the Roman masses, a gruesome show designed to thrill and excite. The condemned became actors in a macabre drama, their suffering a source of entertainment for the vast throngs of spectators. This aspect of the punishment adds a chilling layer of dehumanization, transforming the condemned into mere objects for public amusement. The animals themselves were carefully chosen, their ferocity and size contributing to the spectacle. Lions, with their powerful jaws and razor-sharp claws, were a popular choice, their attacks often swift and brutal. Bears, with their immense strength and tenacious grip, offered a different kind of terror, a slower, more agonizing death. Elephants, with their immense size and crushing power, could inflict unimaginable suffering before finally ending the condemned's life. The variety of animals used also contributed to the unpredictable nature of the punishment. The condemned could never know what awaited them, adding a layer of psychological torment to their ordeal. This uncertainty, this agonizing wait for the unknown, amplified the horror of the punishment. It wasn't simply the fear of death. It was the fear of the unknown, the terrifying anticipation of a gruesome and unpredictable end. The public nature of ad bestias served as a powerful deterrent. The spectacle of the condemned being torn apart by wild animals served as a stark warning to potential criminals. It was a public display of the Roman state's power, a demonstration of the consequences of defying authority. The gruesome nature of the punishment, combined with its public display, ensured that it served as a powerful reminder of the state's might and its capacity for brutal retribution. However, the use of ad bestias also reveals a darker side of Roman society, a fascination with violence and spectacle. The public's enjoyment of such gruesome events speaks to a culture that found entertainment in suffering and death. This aspect of Roman society, this seemingly callous disregard for human life adds a chilling layer to the story of Adbestges, revealing a disturbing undercurrent of brutality and barbarity. As we contemplate the spectacle of Adbestges, we are confronted with a disturbing blend of justice, entertainment, and the sheer terror of facing a violent and unpredictable death. The condemned were not simply executed. They were transformed into actors in a macabre drama, their suffering a source of entertainment for the Roman masses. The image of the condemned standing alone in the arena, awaiting the charge of a wild beast, remains a potent symbol of the brutality and spectacle that characterized Roman justice. The legacy of Adbestges extends beyond the ancient world, serving as a reminder of the dangers of public spectacle and the potential for violence and cruelty to be used for entertainment. It serves as a sobering reflection on the darker aspects of human nature and the potential for cruelty to become both a form of punishment and a source of amusement. The echoes of the roaring crowd, the cries of the condemned, and the terrifying approach of the wild beasts continue to resonate through history, a chilling reminder of the brutal realities of ancient Rome. Now, let us consider a punishment that, while seemingly less dramatic than being thrown to wild beasts or crucified, carried a profound and chilling significance. Aqua et ignis interdictio, the banishment from water and fire. This wasn't a simple exile. It was a symbolic severing from the very essentials of life, a deliberate exclusion from the basic necessities that sustained Roman society. It was a quiet, yet devastating, form of social and physical death. Imagine the weight of this sentence. The condemned was not merely banished from a place, but from the very elements that sustained life itself. Water, the source of sustenance and cleansing, was denied. Fire, the heart of the home, the provider of warmth and cooking, was extinguished. These were not abstract concepts. They were the very foundations of daily existence in ancient Rome. To be deprived of them was to be cast adrift, alone and vulnerable, in a world suddenly hostile and unforgiving. The practical implications of aqua et ignis interdictio were severe. Without access to water, the condemned faced dehydration, illness, and ultimately death. Simple acts like washing, drinking, and preparing food became impossible, forcing the individual into a state of constant discomfort and vulnerability. The absence of water, in a world lacking modern sanitation, meant exposure to disease and infection, further compounding the severity of the punishment. The deprivation of fire held an even deeper symbolic weight. In ancient Rome, fire represented the hearth, the center of the home and family life. It was a source of warmth, comfort, and community. To be banished from fire was to be cut off from the very heart of Roman society, to be cast out from the warmth and security of family and community. It was a social death, as much as a physical one. The symbolic significance of fire extended beyond the domestic sphere. In ancient Rome, fire was also associated with the gods, with the divine flame that sustained life and order. To be denied access to fire was not only to be separated from the practicalities of daily life, but also to be symbolically cut off from the divine, from the protective embrace of the Roman pantheon. This spiritual isolation must have been profoundly unsettling, compounding the already severe physical hardship. Consider the psychological impact of this punishment. The condemned was not only facing physical hardship, but also profound isolation and social ostracism. The denial of water and fire signified a complete rejection by Roman society, a symbolic erasure from the community. The weight of this isolation, the awareness of being utterly alone and cast out, would have been almost unbearable. The punishment was not merely physical. It was a slow, deliberate dismantling of the individual's identity and connection to society. The severity of aqua et ignis interdictio varied, depending on the context and the specific circumstances of the crime. Sometimes it was a sentence in itself, a form of social death that effectively banished the individual from Roman society. At other times, it served as an additional punishment, further compounding the severity of other forms of retribution. The flexibility of this punishment allowed it to be adapted to a range of crimes and circumstances, emphasizing its versatility and adaptability. The punishment also served as a powerful deterrent. The threat of being cut off from the very essentials of life, from water and fire, the basic needs of human existence, was a potent symbol of the state's power. It was a chilling reminder of the consequences of defying Roman law and the profound social and physical isolation that awaited those who dared to challenge the authority of the state. The chilling prospect of such a fate served as a powerful deterrent against criminal behavior. In conclusion, aqua et ignis interdictio was more than just a banishment. It was a profound and symbolic punishment that stripped the condemned of the very essentials of life, both physically and spiritually. It was a form of social and physical death, a chilling reminder of the state's power and the consequences of defying Roman law. The image of the condemned, alone and vulnerable, cut off from water and fire, remains a potent symbol of the severity and symbolic weight of Roman justice. It stands as a testament to the multifaceted nature of Roman punishments, a system that went beyond simple retribution to encompass social, spiritual, and physical annihilation. The lingering chill of this punishment speaks volumes about the power structures and societal values of ancient Rome. Beyond the physical brutality of many Roman punishments lay a subtler, yet equally devastating, form of retribution: public humiliation. This wasn't simply about inflicting pain. It was about dismantling a person's social standing, shattering their reputation, and casting them out from the fabric of Roman society. The shame wasn't confined to the moment of punishment. It lingered, a constant shadow tainting every aspect of the condemned's life. Imagine this scene: the condemned, shackled and bound, paraded through the bustling streets of Rome. The crowds, a sea of faces, both curious and contemptuous, watched as the prisoner was dragged along, their shame laid bare for all to see. The chains, heavy and clanking, serve as a constant reminder of their transgression, a physical manifestation of their fallen status. This wasn't a private affair. It was a public spectacle, designed to reinforce the power of the state and the consequences of defying its laws. The humiliation wasn't limited to chains and forced marches. Criminals were often compelled to wear humiliating clothing, garments designed to mock and degrade. These might include brightly colored, outlandish robes, or perhaps clothes that signified their crime, turning their very attire into a living testament to their transgression. The visual impact of this public shaming was profound, ensuring that the condemned shame was not only personal, but also widely broadcast. The nature of the humiliating clothing varied, depending on the crime. A thief might be forced to wear a donkey's ears, a symbol of their foolishness and dishonesty. A corrupt official could be dressed in rags, highlighting their fall from grace and the loss of their former status. These visual cues ensured that the meaning of the punishment was understood by all, transforming the condemned into living symbols of their own disgrace. The clothing itself became a tool of public education, a stark reminder of the consequences of wrongdoing. Beyond clothing, other forms of public humiliation were employed. Criminals might be forced to perform degrading acts, publicly acknowledging their guilt and accepting the community's scorn. These acts were designed not only to shame the individual, but also to serve as a cautionary tale for others, emphasizing the importance of obedience and adherence to Roman law. The humiliation wasn't a one-time event. It was a prolonged process designed to ensure that the consequences of the crime extended far beyond the act itself. The lasting impact of public humiliation extended far beyond the immediate spectacle. The condemned's reputation was irrevocably tarnished, their social standing forever diminished. They were ostracized, shunned by family, friends, and community. Opportunities for social advancement were lost, and the possibility of a normal life was effectively extinguished. The shame wasn't a fleeting emotion. It was a permanent stain, a shadow that followed the condemned throughout their lives. The social stigma associated with public humiliation was profound. It wasn't just about the shame. It was about the loss of social standing, the exclusion from the community, and the disruption of social networks. The condemned were effectively exiled from the social fabric of Rome, denied the opportunities and connections that were essential for a successful and fulfilling life. Their social death was as devastating as any physical punishment. Public humiliation wasn't merely a tool of punishment. It was a carefully constructed social performance. It reinforced societal norms, upholding the power of the state and establishing the consequences of defying its authority. The spectacle served as a cautionary tale, reminding citizens of the importance of conformity and obedience. The very public nature of the humiliation served to solidify the social order, reinforcing the existing power structures and maintaining social control. In reflection, the forms of public humiliation employed in ancient Rome reveal a society deeply invested in the maintenance of social order and the enforcement of its laws. The punishment wasn't simply about retribution. It was about the preservation of the social fabric. The lasting impact of these practices emphasizes the profound importance placed on reputation and social standing in Roman society, a society where shame and ostracism could be as devastating as physical pain. The enduring image of the condemned, paraded through the streets in chains or forced to wear humiliating garments, stands as a testament to the power of social control and the chilling effectiveness of public shame. Now, let us turn our attention to a punishment that left an indelible physical mark upon the condemned: branding. More than just a physical scar, the brand was a constant, visible reminder of the crime committed, a brand that served as a permanent social stigma, marking the individual as an outcast for the remainder of their days. The act itself, while seemingly simple, was a powerful tool of social control, a visible symbol of the state's power and the consequences of defiance. Imagine the scene: a flickering torch casting long shadows across the rough-hewn stones of a Roman prison. The air is thick with the smell of sweat, fear, and the acrid tang of burning flesh. A heated iron, bearing the mark of the crime, is pressed against the skin. The searing heat, the agonizing pain, the stench of burning flesh, these were all part of the punishment. But the physical pain was only part of the story. The brand left a lasting mark, both physical and social. The brand itself was a form of symbolic inscription, a permanent record of the crime etched onto the body of the criminal. Different brands held different meanings, acting as visual shorthand for specific offenses. A thief might bear the mark of a hand, perhaps with a symbol representing stolen goods. A deserter from the Roman legions might be branded with a symbol of desertion or cowardice, a mark that would follow them for the rest of their life. These brands weren't arbitrary. They were carefully chosen to convey the nature of the crime, serving as a visual testament to the individual's transgression. The placement of the brand was also significant. Certain locations carried additional weight, enhancing the social stigma. A brand on the face, for instance, was particularly humiliating, ensuring that the mark of the crime was visible to all. A brand on the hand, visible in daily interactions, served as a constant reminder to both the condemned and those around them. Every glance, every touch became a reminder of the past transgression. The social consequences of branding were profound. The branded individual was marked as an outcast, treated with suspicion and disdain. Opportunities for social advancement were severely limited, and the prospect of a normal life was effectively extinguished. The brand served as a permanent barrier to social reintegration, ensuring that the punishment extended far beyond the moment of its infliction. Consider the psychological toll. The constant visibility of the brand served as a constant reminder of the crime, a daily reminder of shame and social isolation. The brand wasn't just a physical mark. It was a symbol of social death, a constant reminder of the individual's fallen status. The psychological impact of such a punishment cannot be overstated. The brand was a constant burden, a weight that the condemned carried with them for the remainder of their days. The act of branding was far more than a simple punishment. It was a sophisticated tool of social control. It not only punished the individual, but also served as a warning to others, reinforcing the consequences of defying Roman law. The visual nature of the brand ensured that the message was widely disseminated, serving as a constant reminder of the state's power and the importance of obedience. Furthermore, the permanence of the brand ensured that the consequences of the crime extended far beyond the initial punishment. Even after the physical pain subsided, the brand remained a constant reminder of the past transgression. This permanence served to reinforce the social order, emphasizing the consequences of deviance and upholding the power of the state. The brand was a powerful symbol, a visual manifestation of Roman justice. The different types of brands, their placement, and their significance highlight the complexity of Roman law and the nuanced ways in which punishment was used to maintain social order. The practice of branding wasn't simply about inflicting pain. It was about creating a permanent social mark, ensuring that the consequences of the crime extended far beyond the act itself. It was a powerful tool that left an indelible mark on both the body and the soul of the condemned. The image of the branded criminal, marked forever by the searing iron, serves as a chilling yet fascinating insight into the brutal efficiency of Roman justice and the lasting effects of its punishments. The lingering impact of this punishment underscores the enduring power of visible symbols in shaping social perceptions and behavior. As we delve deeper into the unsettling landscape of Roman punishments, we encounter a category marked by its stark brutality and enduring symbolic weight: mutilation. The deliberate removal or disfigurement of body parts transcended mere physical pain. It was a potent instrument of social control, a public spectacle designed to instill fear and reinforce the absolute power of the state. These acts of mutilation weren't random. They were carefully calibrated to inflict maximum suffering, both physically and psychologically, and to convey specific messages about the transgression and the societal response. Imagine the hushed anticipation of a Roman crowd gathered in the forum, their eyes drawn to a raised platform. The condemned, stripped bare, awaits their fate. The air, thick with tension, holds the scent of sweat, fear, and the metallic tang of blood. The executioner, a figure of grim authority, raises their tools, sharp blades, heated irons, or perhaps a blunt instrument, ready to inflict the sentence. The act itself, swift and brutal, leaves an indelible mark, both literally and figuratively. The loss of a hand, for instance, wasn't simply a physical injury. It was a symbolic removal of agency and capability. Hands were essential for labor, for creation, for interaction with the world. Their removal rendered the individual helpless, dependent, and utterly vulnerable. The symbolism extended beyond the practical. It represented the stripping away of an individual's ability to contribute to society, to participate in the everyday fabric of life. The maimed hand became a constant, visible reminder of the crime and the consequences of defiance. The removal of an ear, similarly, carried profound implications. Ears were essential for communication, for the reception of information, for participation in the social world. Their removal silenced the individual, literally and figuratively, cutting them off from the flow of information and the exchange of ideas. The loss of hearing represented a profound isolation, a severing of connections, and a symbolic silencing of the offender. The maimed ear became a public declaration of their exclusion from society. Eye gouging, perhaps the most horrific of these mutilations, was not simply a blinding act. It represented the symbolic destruction of vision, both literal and metaphorical. The eyes, the windows to the soul, were rendered useless, leaving the individual lost in a world of darkness. The removal of sight represented a profound loss of understanding, a disconnection from reality, and a symbolic erasure of the individual's ability to perceive and interpret the world. The sightless sockets became a chilling testament to the power of the state and the devastating consequences of its wrath. The removal of the tongue, another profoundly symbolic mutilation, silenced the offender in the most literal sense. The tongue, the instrument of speech, of persuasion, of expression, was rendered useless. The condemned was robbed of their voice, their ability to articulate their thoughts, their opinions, or their pleas. The silence imposed was not merely physical. It represented a profound loss of identity, a silencing of the individual's very essence. The absence of speech became a chilling symbol of powerlessness and social annihilation. Castration, a particularly brutal and degrading punishment, was reserved for specific crimes, often those perceived as particularly threatening to the social order. Beyond the physical pain and debilitating consequences, castration represented a symbolic destruction of masculinity, a profound violation of identity, and a complete removal of an individual's ability to procreate and continue their lineage. The psychological trauma inflicted was immeasurable, leaving an indelible scar on the victim's identity and sense of self. These acts of mutilation weren't random. They were meticulously chosen to inflict maximum suffering and to communicate specific messages. The choice of body part, the method of removal, and the public nature of the act all contributed to the overall impact of the punishment. Each mutilation carried its own symbolic weight, reinforcing the social norms and the power of the state. The lasting physical and psychological effects of these punishments served as a chilling reminder of the consequences of transgression. The enduring legacy of these practices is not merely one of physical brutality. It is a testament to the complex and often contradictory nature of Roman society. The meticulous detail given to these punishments, the symbolic significance attached to the loss of specific body parts, highlights the profound concern with social order and the lengths to which the Romans were willing to go to enforce their laws. The chilling echoes of these acts continue to resonate, reminding us of the darker aspects of Roman justice and the enduring power of symbolic violence. The image of the mutilated body, a testament to the state's power and the consequences of defiance, remains a haunting reminder of the brutal realities of ancient Roman society. Now, let us descend into the darkness, into the bowels of the earth, to explore another chilling aspect of Roman justice: medulum, the sentence of forced labor in the mines. This was not merely a punishment. It was a slow, agonizing death sentence, a descent into a subterranean hell where hope withered and the human spirit was systematically crushed. Imagine the oppressive weight of the earth above, the suffocating darkness surrounding you, the constant threat of collapse, and the ever-present awareness of your own mortality. Picture, if you will, a vast network of tunnels, carved into the earth with pickaxes and sweat. The air, thick with dust and the stench of damp rock, is barely breathable. The darkness is absolute, broken only by the flickering light of oil lamps, casting long, dancing shadows that play tricks on the eyes, making the rough-hewn walls seem to shift and writhe. The temperature is oppressive, a stifling heat in summer, a biting chill in winter, with no respite from the relentless conditions. The condemned, stripped of their identity and dignity, are forced to toil in these grim conditions, their bodies bent and broken under the relentless weight of physical labor. They are chained together, their movements restricted, their bodies aching from strain. The rhythm of their work is relentless. The clang of pickaxes, the rumble of rocks, the drip, drip, drip of water echoing through the tunnels. A constant, oppressive symphony of despair. The physical toll is immense. The constant strain on muscles and joints leads to debilitating injuries. Infections fester in open wounds, and exhaustion becomes a constant companion. Accidents are frequent, rocks falling from the ceiling, tunnels collapsing, and the ever-present threat of suffocation adding to the constant fear. Disease spreads rapidly through the cramped, unsanitary conditions, and death becomes a frequent visitor to the mines. But the suffering extends beyond the physical. The dehumanizing aspects of medulum are equally devastating. Stripped of their clothing, dignity, and often their names, the condemned are reduced to mere beasts of burden, their humanity systematically eroded. They are denied basic necessities, forced to endure hunger, thirst, and brutal treatment at the hands of their overseers. Any hope of redemption or escape is extinguished, replaced by a bleak acceptance of their fate. The darkness itself becomes a psychological torment, intensifying the feeling of isolation and hopelessness. The lack of sunlight, the absence of human connection, and the constant awareness of impending death create a crushing weight on the mind. The condemned are left to confront their own mortality in the most brutal and isolating circumstances imaginable. Their sense of self, their identity, slowly disintegrates, replaced by a numbing despair. The work is backbreaking, the conditions unbearable, and the future bleak. There is no escape, no reprieve, only the relentless cycle of labor, suffering, and the ever-present threat of death. The sounds of the mine, the clanking of chains, the dripping water, the occasional groan of the earth, become the soundtrack to a life stripped bare of all hope and dignity. The experience is one of utter dehumanization, a descent into the darkest depths of despair. Even the brief moments of respite offer little comfort. The cramped sleeping quarters offer no escape from the cold, the damp, or the constant presence of disease and death. Food is meager, barely enough to sustain life, and a lack of sanitation makes illness inevitable. Sleep, when it comes, is a troubled rest, punctuated by nightmares and the ever-present awareness of the oppressive darkness surrounding them. The legacy of Medtime is a chilling testament to the brutality of Roman justice. It was a punishment designed not only to inflict physical suffering, but also to crush the human spirit, to reduce individuals to their most basic animalistic instincts. The mines serve as a potent symbol of the absolute power of the state and the utter helplessness of those who fell afoul of its laws. The story of Medtime is a dark chapter in Roman history, a reminder of the depths of human cruelty and the enduring power of oppression. The echoes of the pickaxes, the groans of the earth, and the silent screams of the condemned continue to resonate, a haunting reminder of the brutal realities of life in ancient Rome. The darkness of the mines remains a symbol of the complete loss of hope, the ultimate dehumanization, and the chilling power of Roman justice. Now, let us turn our attention to a punishment both brutal and symbolic: impalement. Unlike many Roman punishments designed for swift, if brutal, ends, impalement was a drawn-out ordeal, a slow, agonizing death designed not only to inflict physical pain, but also to serve as a stark warning and a public spectacle of the state's power. The condemned were not merely executed. They were displayed, their suffering a prolonged testament to the consequences of transgression. Imagine the scene: a sharpened stake, tall and imposing, driven deep into the earth. The condemned, stripped and vulnerable, is brought forth, their body bound and helpless. The slow, deliberate process of raising them onto the stake is a torment in itself, a prelude to the protracted agony that awaits. Their weight, pressing down on the sharp wood, tears through flesh and muscle, a piercing pain that intensifies with every passing moment. The impaling itself wasn't a quick end. It was a slow, drawn-out process, a deliberate violation of the body. The sharp point, piercing the flesh, would not simply find a quick path to the heart. Instead, it would tear through muscle, tissue, and organs, a gruesome journey that would stretch over hours, days, or even longer, depending on the position and depth of the impalement. The placement of the stake was also significant. It wasn't merely a matter of piercing the body. It was a calculated act designed to maximize suffering and to create a terrifying public display. The height of the stake, the angle of impalement, and even the placement of the body on the stake were all carefully considered elements designed to prolong the agony and to create a lasting impression of terror. The slow, agonizing death was not only physical, it was also a psychological torment. The condemned, impaled, and exposed to the elements would be subjected to the relentless scrutiny of the public gaze. Their suffering, their cries, their final moments of life would all be on display, a grim reminder of the consequences of defiance. The sheer terror of the situation, the knowledge of the protracted nature of their death, would intensify their suffering tenfold. The symbolic meaning of impalement was potent. The stake itself, driven deep into the earth, symbolized the absolute power of the state and the utter helplessness of the condemned. The impaled body, raised high above the ground, served as a stark warning to all who witnessed the spectacle, a grim reminder of the consequences of disobedience and rebellion. It was a public display of power, a testament to the state's ability to inflict pain and to impose its will. The public nature of the punishment was crucial. The spectacle of impalement was not merely intended to inflict suffering on the condemned. It was designed to instill fear and awe in the hearts of the onlookers. The sight of the slowly dying body, the sounds of their agony, the sheer horror of the spectacle, served as a powerful deterrent, a potent reminder of the price of defiance. The gruesome image would be imprinted on the minds of the onlookers, a lasting symbol of the state's might and the consequences of transgression. It was a form of public terror, meant to maintain order through fear. The slow, agonizing death of impalement was a calculated act of cruelty, a meticulously designed punishment meant to inflict maximum suffering, both physical and psychological. The prolonged nature of the death, the public spectacle, and the potent symbolic meaning all combined to make impalement one of the most brutal and terrifying punishments in the Roman arsenal. It is a stark reminder of the lengths to which the Roman state would go to maintain its power and to enforce its laws. The image of the impaled body, silhouetted against the Roman sky, remains a chilling testament to the cruelty and barbarity of this ancient punishment. The lingering horror of impalement serves as a haunting reminder of the dark side of Roman justice, a chilling legacy etched in the annals of history. The echoes of their suffering, their silent screams, remain a testament to the brutality and the power of the Roman state. The image remains a powerful symbol of the absolute power of the Roman state and the utter helplessness of those who fell victim to its merciless justice. Let us now consider a punishment that, while perhaps less overtly violent than impalement or mutilation, inflicted a different kind of devastation: the sacking and burning of one's property. This wasn't simply a matter of material loss. It was a deliberate act designed to dismantle a person's life, to shatter their social standing, and to leave them utterly vulnerable. It was a punishment that reached beyond the physical destruction of possessions. It struck at the very heart of a person's existence, their livelihood, and their place within Roman society. Imagine the scene: the crackle of flames, the roar of the fire, the acrid smell of burning wood and possessions. A family's home, their carefully built life, consumed by flames. Not a quick flash of destruction, but a slow, deliberate burning, each consumed item representing a piece of their life, their history, their future, dissolving into ash. The tools of their trade, the clothes on their backs, the very roof over their heads, all reduced to nothing, leaving behind only the stark, chilling reality of loss. This wasn't a random act of vandalism. It was a carefully orchestrated punishment, often carried out as a public spectacle. The destruction of property served as a powerful demonstration of the state's authority, a visible manifestation of the consequences of transgression. The sight of a burning home, a smoldering ruin, would have been a chilling reminder to all who witnessed it of the power of the Roman state and the dire consequences of disobedience. The loss extended far beyond the material. The destruction of a home meant the destruction of a livelihood. For many Romans, their home was not merely a place to live. It was also their workplace, their source of income. A blacksmith's forge, a weaver's loom, a merchant's stall, all reduced to ashes, leaving the individual destitute and vulnerable. The loss of their home and business meant the loss of their ability to provide for themselves and their families, plunging them into poverty and despair. The social implications were equally devastating. In Roman society, property ownership was intrinsically linked to social status and standing. The destruction of property was therefore not simply a loss of material possessions. It was a symbolic stripping away of one's social identity and standing. The individual, once a respected member of their community, was now reduced to a pauper, stripped of their dignity and social standing. They were cast out, ostracized, and left to fend for themselves in a world that had abruptly become hostile and unforgiving. The psychological impact of this punishment was profound. The loss of one's home and possessions represented not just a material loss, but a loss of security, of identity, and of belonging. It was a profound blow to one's sense of self and one's place in the world. The trauma of witnessing one's life reduced to ashes, the despair of facing a bleak and uncertain future, would have been immense. The memory of the burning home, the smell of smoke, the chilling silence that followed, would have been a haunting reminder of the state's power and the devastation it could inflict. Furthermore, the act of sacking and burning property often extended beyond the immediate victim. Families, neighbors, and even entire communities could be affected by the destruction. The ripple effect of such a punishment could have far-reaching consequences, destabilizing social structures and creating widespread fear and uncertainty. It was a punishment that not only targeted the individual, but also impacted the broader social fabric. Beyond the immediate devastation, the long-term consequences of this punishment were equally severe. Rebuilding a life from nothing, regaining one's social standing, and escaping the shadow of this devastating punishment would have been an incredibly difficult, often impossible task. The stigma of having one's property destroyed would have followed the victim for life, marking them as an outcast, a person who had fallen from grace and failed to meet the expectations of Roman society. The punishment of sacking and burning property in ancient Rome was a multifaceted act of retribution that went far beyond the simple destruction of material possessions. It was a deliberate and calculated assault on an individual's livelihood, social standing, and psychological well-being. It was a powerful demonstration of the state's authority, a chilling reminder of the consequences of transgression, and a testament to the brutal efficiency of the Roman justice system. The lingering image of burning homes, the silent ruins, and the shattered lives of the victims stand as a somber reminder of the harsh realities of Roman law and its devastating impact on those who fell afoul of it. The ashes of their homes, the remnants of their lives, serve as a haunting echo of a time when justice could be as merciless as it was public. The silence that followed the flames, the chilling emptiness, would have been a lasting symbol of the state's power and the complete devastation of a life. Now, let us turn our attention to a different kind of punishment, one that, while lacking the immediate physical brutality of impalement or the slow, agonizing death of Medellum, could nonetheless inflict profound suffering and lasting consequences, the imposition of substantial financial penalties. These weren't mere fines. They were carefully calculated blows aimed at crippling an individual's economic stability, shattering their social standing, and leaving them vulnerable to the harsh realities of Roman life. Imagine the weight of such a judgment, a sum of money so vast it could bankrupt a family, a business, or even a whole household. This wasn't merely a monetary penalty. It was a sentence of economic ruin, a deliberate dismantling of one's financial security. The impact extended far beyond the immediate loss of funds. It resonated through every aspect of the condemned individual's life, creating a ripple effect of hardship and despair. The scale of these fines varied dramatically, but their impact was always devastating. For a wealthy Roman, a substantial fine might represent a significant portion of their wealth, perhaps forcing them to sell off properties, land, or other valuable possessions. For those of more modest means, the consequences were far more severe, often leading to complete destitution and economic ruin. The weight of such a debt could crush a person, leaving them with no choice but to surrender their assets, sell their possessions, or even resort to desperate measures to meet their obligations. The economic hardship caused by these fines extended beyond the immediate victim. Families were often plunged into poverty, their livelihoods destroyed by the inability to meet the demands of the imposed debt. Businesses could be forced to close, workers left unemployed, and entire communities affected by the cascading economic impact of a single individual's financial ruin. The ripple effect of these massive fines could be devastating creating widespread poverty and social unrest. Beyond the immediate economic consequences, these financial penalties had profound social repercussions. In Roman society, wealth and economic standing were closely intertwined with social status and influence. Being burdened with a crippling debt could lead to social ostracism, a loss of standing within one's community, and the shattering of one's social connections. The stigma of indebtedness often followed an individual for life, preventing them from rebuilding their life and regaining their former social position. Furthermore, the process of accumulating such a debt could itself be a form of punishment. The constant pressure to repay the fine, the relentless pursuit by creditors, the threat of imprisonment or further penalties, all these added layers of suffering to the already crushing weight of the economic burden. The psychological toll of living under such pressure, the constant anxiety and fear of further repercussions, would have been immense. The inability to repay a substantial fine often led to imprisonment, a condition that further exacerbated the economic hardship. Imprisonment meant the loss of income, the inability to work or provide for one's family, and the accumulation of further debts. It was a vicious cycle of hardship and despair, a slow descent into poverty and social marginalization. In many cases, the imposition of these financial penalties was intended as a means of social control. By crippling an individual's economic stability, the Roman state could effectively neutralize their influence, curtail their power, and prevent them from challenging the established order. These fines were not merely about retribution. They were a powerful tool for maintaining social order and reinforcing the authority of the state. The use of substantial financial penalties as a form of punishment in ancient Rome reveals a fascinating, if disturbing, aspect of the Roman justice system. It was a system that recognized the power of economic hardship to inflict suffering, to dismantle lives, and to maintain social control. The devastating impact of these fines, the long-term consequences for individuals and communities, serve as a somber reminder of the harsh realities of Roman law and the profound ways in which it could shape the lives of its citizens. The weight of these debts, the crushing burden of financial ruin, stands as a haunting echo of a time when justice could be as economically devastating as it was socially destructive. The silent struggle of those burdened by insurmountable debt, the slow descent into poverty, stands as a testament to the profound and lasting impact of Roman justice, a chilling reminder of the power of the state to inflict suffering through financial means. In the intricate social fabric of ancient Rome, the system of patronage played a crucial, often unseen, role. Powerful individuals, senators, wealthy landowners, or even influential military commanders offered their protection and support to those beneath them, forming a complex network of alliances and dependencies. This patronage wasn't merely a matter of generosity. It was a fundamental element of Roman society, a system that provided stability, security, and advancement for many. Losing this crucial support, however, could be a devastating blow, a punishment as potent as any physical affliction. Imagine the precarious position of a Roman citizen reliant on the favor of a powerful patron. This patron might provide financial assistance, legal protection, career advancement, or simply the crucial social standing needed to navigate the complexities of Roman life. This relationship offered a degree of security, a shield against the harsh realities of a competitive and often unforgiving society. The loss of this patronage, therefore, was not simply a social setback. It was often a devastating blow, leaving the individual exposed and vulnerable. The removal of patronage could be a deliberate punishment, enacted as a consequence of transgression or disloyalty. A powerful patron, angered by an act of defiance or betrayal, might withdraw their support, leaving the formerly protected individual exposed to the whims of fate and the machinations of their enemies. This sudden removal of protection could have far-reaching and devastating consequences. Without the shield of their patron's influence, the individual would find themselves adrift in the turbulent sea of Roman politics and social life. Their access to resources, their legal protection, and their social standing would diminish considerably. The once secure position would dissolve into uncertainty and vulnerability. The social isolation resulting from the loss of patronage was profound. In a society where social networks and connections were crucial for survival and advancement, the removal of a powerful patron meant the severing of vital ties. The individual would find themselves excluded from the networks of influence and support that had previously sustained them. Their social standing would plummet, their access to resources would dry up, and they would be left to fend for themselves in a world that had previously provided them with a degree of security and stability. The vulnerability created by the loss of patronage extended beyond social isolation. Without the protection of a powerful patron, the individual would be exposed to the risks of legal action, economic hardship, and even physical violence. The absence of a powerful protector left them susceptible to the machinations of their enemies, the machinations of rival factions, and the uncertainties of Roman justice. It was a punishment that extended beyond the social realm, impacting every aspect of the individual's existence. The economic hardship stemming from lost patronage could be severe. Many individuals relied on their patrons for financial assistance, subsidies, or employment opportunities. The loss of this support could lead to financial ruin, poverty, and the inability to provide for oneself and one's family. The once comfortable lifestyle could quickly dissolve into destitution, creating a devastating cascade of hardship. Furthermore, the loss of patronage could lead to a loss of access to crucial resources and opportunities. A powerful patron might provide access to land, employment, or political influence. The removal of this access could cripple an individual's ability to make a living, participate in public life, or advance their career. It was a punishment that extended beyond mere social isolation. It was a systematic dismantling of one's economic and social standing. The vulnerability and social isolation resulting from lost patronage highlight a crucial aspect of Roman society. The system of patronage, while providing stability and security for many, also created a profound dependency. The loss of this support could be a devastating punishment, a silent, yet powerful form of retribution that extended far beyond the immediate loss of a protector. It exposed the individual to the harsh realities of Roman life, leaving them vulnerable to economic hardship, social isolation, and the uncertainties of a world without the crucial protection of a powerful patron. The chilling reality of this punishment resonates through the ages, a stark reminder of the intricate power dynamics and the profound consequences of losing favor within the hierarchical structure of ancient Rome. The echoes of this silent punishment, the quiet dismantling of a life, serve as a haunting reminder of the complexities of power and the vulnerability of those who relied upon the fickle favor of their patrons. The slow erosion of social standing, the gradual decline into poverty and isolation, stand as a testament to the devastating impact of losing the protection and support of a powerful patron in ancient Rome. In the deeply religious society of ancient Rome, the transgression of religious norms carried severe consequences, extending beyond the purely secular realm. Religious sanctions weren't simply a matter of divine displeasure. They were potent tools of social control, weaving together spiritual and societal repercussions to enforce conformity and maintain the established order. These punishments, often intertwined with the broader legal system, serve as a powerful reminder of the interconnectedness of religious observance and social standing within Roman society. One could envision the hushed anxiety in the heart of a Roman citizen facing accusations of sacrilege. The very accusation, regardless of its truth, could cast a shadow over their reputation, affecting their social standing and economic prospects. The weight of public opinion, fueled by religious anxieties, could be as heavy as any physical punishment. The spectrum of religious sanctions range from relatively minor acts of penance to severe and life-altering consequences. Minor infractions might involve public apologies, offerings to appease the offended deity, or participation in purification rituals. These acts, while seemingly less severe, serve as public displays of contrition, reminding the community of the importance of religious adherence. More serious offenses, however, could lead to far more severe consequences. Excommunication, for instance, meant expulsion from the community's religious rites and ceremonies, severing the vital spiritual connection that bound individuals together. This exclusion wasn't merely a spiritual deprivation. It significantly impacted social standing and access to support networks. In a society deeply intertwined with religious practices, excommunication was a form of social ostracism, isolating the individual and diminishing their standing within the community. Consider the social implications of such a punishment. In a world where religious participation was integral to daily life, excommunication created a profound sense of isolation and exclusion. The individual would be barred from religious festivals, ceremonies, and community gatherings, severing their ties to the social fabric of Roman life. This isolation could lead to economic hardship, as social networks and support systems were often intertwined with religious participation. Beyond excommunication, more severe religious sanctions could involve accusations of impiety or sacrilege, offenses that could lead to secular legal intervention. The Roman state, while not directly enforcing religious laws in all cases, often collaborated with religious authorities, blurring the lines between religious and secular justice. The consequences of such accusations could range from fines and imprisonment to even death, depending on the severity of the offense and the prevailing social and political climate. The spiritual implications of religious sanctions were profound. The belief in divine retribution, the fear of the afterlife, and the importance of maintaining a clean spiritual record were central tenets of Roman religious life. The threat of divine punishment, coupled with the social consequences of religious transgressions, acted as a powerful deterrent, reinforcing the importance of religious observance and conformity. The intertwining of religious and secular justice in ancient Rome created a complex system of punishments, where religious sanctions added another layer to the existing legal framework. The social and spiritual consequences of religious transgressions often far outweighed the purely secular penalties, creating a system of social control that extended beyond the reach of the courts and into the very fabric of daily life. Imagine the weight of a religious sanction on the individual's conscience. The constant awareness of divine displeasure, coupled with the social isolation and potential for further punishment, could create immense psychological pressure, compelling conformity and reinforcing religious norms. This psychological burden, often unseen, served as a powerful tool of social control, shaping behavior and reinforcing the established religious order. The fear of divine retribution, a cornerstone of Roman religious life, added a layer of dread and uncertainty to the consequences of religious transgressions. The belief in a powerful and unforgiving divine power shaped the behavior of individuals, reinforcing the importance of adhering to religious norms and avoiding actions that could invite divine displeasure. This fear, coupled with the social consequences of religious sanctions, created a powerful system of social control. In conclusion, the religious sanctions of ancient Rome were not simply abstract theological pronouncements. They were potent instruments of social control, deeply intertwined with the secular legal system. The social and spiritual ramifications of these punishments highlight the profound influence of religion on daily life, demonstrating how religious beliefs and practices permeated the legal and social structures of ancient Roman society. The fear of divine wrath, combined with the social ostracism and potential for secular punishment, ensured compliance and reinforced the established religious and social order. The chilling effect of these sanctions resonates through history, offering a glimpse into the complex relationship between religion, law, and social control in ancient Rome. Picture the Roman Forum, bathed in the harsh glare of the midday sun. The air hangs heavy with the scent of dust and sweat, a familiar aroma in this bustling center of Roman life. But today, the usual hum of activity is punctuated by a different sound, the rhythmic crack of the whip, slicing through the air with brutal efficiency. A public whipping is underway, a spectacle both horrifying and commonplace in the ancient world. The condemned, stripped bare to the waist, stands bound to a post, their body taut with anticipation and fear. The crowd, a sea of faces both curious and callous, presses close, their hushed whispers a chilling counterpoint to the impending violence. Some watch with morbid fascination, others with a detached indifference that speaks volumes about the brutal normalization of such spectacles. The air thickens with a sense of anticipation, a collective holding of breath before the storm of pain descends. The executioner, a figure of grim authority, raises the whip high above their head. The leather thong, thick and heavy, is a tool designed not merely for punishment, but for the infliction of profound pain and public humiliation. The first blow lands with a sickening thud, the sound echoing through the forum, a stark reminder of the power held by the Roman state. The whipping is not a swift, merciful end. It is a prolonged ritual of suffering. Each lash tears through the flesh, leaving behind raw, bleeding welts that quickly swell and burn. The victim's cries are muffled by the surrounding din, yet they are palpable, a desperate plea lost in the indifference of the crowd. Their body, once a vessel of strength and dignity, is now reduced to a canvas of pain, a testament to the absolute power of Roman justice. The physical pain is excruciating, a relentless barrage of agony that attacks the senses and tests the limits of human endurance. But beyond the immediate physical suffering, the public nature of the whipping inflicts a deep and lasting wound to the victim's dignity. Stripped bare, exposed to the judgmental gaze of the community, the individual is reduced to a spectacle, their shame broadcast for all to see. The humiliation is a weapon as sharp as the whip itself, leaving behind scars that may never fully heal. One can imagine the lingering effects long after the whipping is over. The physical wounds, while they may eventually scab over, serve as a constant reminder of the brutality suffered. But more enduring is the psychological trauma, the indelible mark of public shame that casts a long shadow over the victim's life. The memory of the event, the searing pain, the crushing humiliation, these become inseparable parts of their identity, affecting their social interactions and their very sense of self. The whippings were not arbitrary acts of cruelty. They served a specific purpose within the Roman legal and social system. They were a potent form of punishment designed to deter crime, to reinforce societal norms, and to publicly demonstrate the power of the state. The spectacle of suffering served as a stark warning, reminding citizens of the consequences of disobeying the law. The public nature of the punishment ensured that the message reached far beyond the individual victim, impacting the entire community. Consider the chilling effect on onlookers. The sight of a fellow citizen subjected to such brutal treatment would have been a sobering reminder of the state's power and the potential consequences of transgression. The collective horror, the shared witnessing of suffering, served to reinforce the authority of the Roman state and the importance of maintaining order. Public whippings were not limited to a specific class or social standing. While certain crimes might carry more severe punishments, the humiliation and pain of the whipping were experienced across all social strata. This universality served to emphasize the power of the Roman legal system, demonstrating that no one was above the law, regardless of their wealth or status. The spectacle transcended social barriers, reminding all citizens of the consequences of disobedience. In the quiet of the night, after the spectacle has ended and the crowd has dispersed, the image of the whipping remains. The cries of the victim, the crack of the whip, the sea of faces, these linger in the memory, a chilling testament to the brutality of Roman justice. The public whipping was more than just a punishment. It was a ritual of humiliation and pain, a stark reminder of the power of the Roman state and the precariousness of life under its rule. The lingering echoes of this barbaric practice serve as a sobering reminder of the stark realities of ancient Rome. Imagine the Roman marketplace, a vibrant tapestry of sights and sounds. Merchants hawk their wares. The clanging of a blacksmith's hammer mingles with the chatter of the crowd, and the aroma of spices and roasting meats fills the air. Yet, amidst this bustling scene, a different kind of spectacle unfolds, the slow, agonizing torment of the pillory. The pillory itself is a simple wooden structure, yet its implications are far-reaching. Two upright posts, connected by a crossbeam with holes for the head and hands, stand as a stark symbol of public shame and humiliation. The condemned, often bound tightly, are forced to endure a prolonged period of exposure, their bodies vulnerable, their dignity stripped bare. Picture the individual, their face pressed against the rough-hewn wood, their arms outstretched, their body aching from the awkward, uncomfortable position. The sun beats down relentlessly, baking their skin and intensifying their discomfort. The crowd, a mixture of onlookers and passers-by, gathers around, their attention drawn to the spectacle of suffering. Some stare with morbid fascination, others with a detached curiosity, while still others cast judgmental glances, their whispers a constant reminder of the shame inflicted. The pillory is not merely a physical punishment. It is a profound assault on the individual's dignity. Forced to endure the public gaze, the condemned are subjected to ridicule, scorn, and verbal abuse. The humiliation is a weapon as potent as any physical torment, leaving behind scars that run far deeper than any surface wound. The relentless exposure serves to strip away their identity, reducing them to a spectacle of human suffering. Consider the physical discomfort, the rigid posture, the cramped position, the relentless sun, all contribute to a slow, agonizing torment. The body aches, the muscles cramp, and the mind struggles to maintain composure under the relentless pressure. The passage of time becomes a measure not of moments, but of enduring pain and humiliation. The pillory becomes a symbol of helplessness, a reminder of the individual's complete vulnerability. The duration of the punishment varied, depending on the severity of the crime. Some might endure hours, even days, in the pillory, their bodies battered and their spirits broken. The relentless exposure to the elements, the public scorn, and the physical discomfort combine to create a punishment that is both agonizing and profoundly dehumanizing. The pillory served a crucial function within the Roman system of justice. It was a tool designed not merely to punish, but to deter, to shame, and to reinforce social order. The public nature of the punishment ensured that the message reached far beyond the individual victim. The spectacle of suffering acted as a stark warning to others, reminding them of the consequences of disobeying the law. The crowd's reaction played a significant role in the effectiveness of the pillory. Their judgmental gazes, their whispered comments, their expressions of disgust, all served to amplify the shame and humiliation inflicted on the condemned. The collective disapproval of the community acted as a powerful force, reinforcing the social stigma associated with the crime. Think of the long-term effects on the individual. Even after their release from the pillory, the shame and humiliation would linger, affecting their social standing and their relationships with others. The memory of the ordeal, the public exposure, the relentless scorn, these would become indelible parts of their identity. The pillory left behind a legacy of shame, a mark that could never be fully erased. As the sun sets, casting long shadows across the marketplace, the pillory remains, a stark symbol of Roman justice. It stands as a reminder of a system that prioritized public spectacle and social control, where punishment was not simply about retribution, but about the public display of power and the enforcement of societal norms. The pillory, in its chilling simplicity, reveals a glimpse into the harsh realities of life in ancient Rome. The echoes of its cruelty linger even now, a testament to the enduring power of public shame and the lasting impact of humiliation. The pillory stands as a silent witness to the complexities of Roman law and the enduring human capacity for both cruelty and fascination with suffering. Picture a hushed crowd, gathered not for celebration, but for a grim ritual. The air hangs heavy with a palpable tension, a silence broken only by the occasional sigh or whispered prayer. At the center of this somber gathering stands a single figure, their posture slumped, their eyes cast down. This is not a scene of spontaneous violence. but a carefully orchestrated act of communal justice, stoning. Unlike the swift brutality of a gladiatorial contest or the spectacle of public flogging, stoning unfolds slowly, deliberately. It's a drawn-out process, steeped in ritual and symbolic significance, transforming the act of punishment into a communal rejection, a public excommunication. The condemned is not simply being punished. They're being cast out, severed from the fabric of the community. The stones themselves are not merely instruments of death. They represent the collective judgment of the community, each thrown stone a testament to the individual's transgression. The act of throwing is not merely physical. It's an emotional and spiritual act, a symbolic expulsion. Each stone carries the weight of the community's disapproval, the accumulated resentment, the collective condemnation. Imagine the slow, agonizing impact of the stones, each blow a reminder of the individual's isolation. The condemned is not alone in their suffering. They are surrounded by the very people they once called community, yet they are utterly alone in their pain. The act of stoning becomes a chilling demonstration of the power of collective judgment, the force of societal ostracization. The rhythmic impact of stones against flesh, the cries of pain, the hushed murmurs of the crowd, all create a symphony of suffering, a collective expression of communal rejection. This is not a private matter. It is a public spectacle, a solemn ritual designed to reinforce societal norms and to demonstrate the consequences of transgression. The condemned's isolation is not merely physical. It is also spiritual and emotional. They are stripped of their identity, reduced to a symbol of societal failure. They are denied the solace of companionship, the comfort of human connection, the support of their community. This isolation becomes as much a punishment as the physical pain itself. Unlike other forms of punishment, stoning is not a spectacle of brute force. It's a calculated act, a measured expression of communal anger and disappointment. It's about more than just inflicting pain. It's about purging the community of an unwanted element, about restoring balance and order through symbolic expulsion. The slow, deliberate nature of stoning amplifies the sense of dread and impending doom. The condemned is granted a prolonged awareness of their fate, a lingering anticipation of the inevitable. This prolonged agony serves not only to punish the individual, but also to instill fear and respect for the community's authority. Consider the psychological impact on the onlookers. The act of participating in the stoning, of throwing a stone, forces them to confront the consequences of transgression, to face the reality of communal judgment. It's a ritual that strengthens social bonds through shared participation in a grim act of justice. The symbolic meaning of stoning transcends its physical brutality. It represents the ultimate rejection, a severing of ties with the community, a complete loss of social standing. It is not just a punishment for a crime. It is a symbolic death, a ritualistic expulsion from the social body. The condemned is not merely punished. They are erased. As the last stone falls, silence descends upon the crowd, a silence heavier than the weight of the stones themselves. The ritual is complete. The community has purged itself of its unwanted element, reasserting its authority and reaffirming its social order. The act of stoning, though brutal, is a powerful testament to the community's unity and its unwavering commitment to its own sense of justice. The lingering silence after the stoning serves as a poignant reminder of the communal nature of the punishment, the collective responsibility for upholding social norms, and the profound impact of social rejection. It's a silence that speaks volumes about the power of community, the weight of societal judgment, and the lasting consequences of transgression. The silence echoes the profound symbolism of the act itself, leaving a lasting impression on those who witnessed the grim ritual. It serves as a stark reminder of the consequences of violating societal norms and the power of communal rejection. The silence, in its own way, is a punishment as well, a chilling testament to the depth of social exclusion. Imagine the chilling expanse of water, dark and unforgiving, reflecting the grim determination of those gathered on its banks. This is not a scene of accidental drowning, but a deliberate act of state-sanctioned execution, a punishment as ancient as civilization itself. The condemned, bound, and helpless, is led to the edge, the weight of their transgression pressing down on them as heavily as the damp air. Unlike the swift brutality of a sword or the agonizing slowness of crucifixion, drowning offers a unique kind of terror. It's a death not of immediate violence, but of slow, suffocating despair. It's a death that plays upon the primal fear of water's overwhelming power, the helpless struggle against an inescapable force. As the condemned is pushed into the cold embrace of the water, a gasp escapes their lips, a final, desperate attempt to draw air into lungs soon to be filled with the chilling weight of the sea. The initial shock gives way to a desperate struggle, limbs flailing against the relentless current, a frantic battle against an adversary that will not yield. The water, initially a source of momentary shock, quickly becomes a suffocating blanket, pressing down on the chest, stealing breath with each rising wave. The world begins to distort, colors blurring, sounds fading into a muffled roar. The struggle becomes less a fight for survival and more a desperate, silent plea against the inevitable. The initial panic gives way to a growing sense of dread, a terrifying awareness of the encroaching darkness. The body, fighting against the suffocating pressure, begins to tire, muscles burning with the exertion. Each inhale becomes an agonizing struggle, each exhale a desperate release of precious air. The lungs, burning with the need for oxygen, begin to fill with water, a cold, alien presence invading the natural space of breath. The mind, initially sharp and frantic, begins to cloud, thoughts becoming disjointed, fragmented, and ultimately fading into a hazy oblivion. The sensation of drowning is not just physical, it's profoundly psychological. It's a descent into a terrifying isolation, a feeling of being utterly alone in the face of overwhelming power. The world outside the water, the onlookers, the sounds of their cries, all fade away, replaced by a growing sense of darkness and nothingness. The condemned, in their final moments, are not merely dying. They're experiencing a primal fear, a confrontation with the absolute power of nature, the ultimate surrender to an inescapable force. The slow, agonizing process allows for a full, horrifying awareness of their impending doom. Unlike other forms of execution, drowning lacks the immediate violence of beheading or the prolonged agony of crucifixion. It offers instead a unique kind of terror, a slow, agonizing descent into oblivion. It's a death that plays on the deepest human fears, the fear of the unknown, the fear of suffocation, the fear of losing control. Consider the symbolic meaning of drowning. The submersion into the depths, the loss of air, the ultimate surrender to the inescapable power of water, all resonate with deeper meanings about powerlessness and the finality of death. It's a punishment that not only ends life, but also symbolically represents the utter annihilation of the individual's existence, a complete erasure from the world of the living. The ripples spreading across the water's surface after the body sinks represent the finality of the act, the silencing of a life, the erasure of a person. The calm return of the water to its still surface belies the violent struggle that took place beneath. It's a chilling reminder of the power of the state, the absolute finality of its judgment. The onlookers, witnessing the slow, agonizing struggle, are left with a profound impression. The scene is not one of swift, decisive violence, but of a lingering, haunting spectacle. It's a reminder of the vulnerability of the human body, the overwhelming power of nature, and the absolute authority of the state. The image of the sinking body, the slowly spreading ripples, the silent return to stillness. These are the lasting images of this particular form of Roman justice. The lingering silence after the body sinks, the undisturbed surface of the water. These are as chilling as the spectacle itself. It is a stark and unforgettable reminder of the power of the state, the finality of its judgment, and the overwhelming force of nature itself. Now, let us turn our attention to a method of execution that, while still undeniably violent, offered a relatively swift end compared to the protracted agonies of other Roman punishments: garroting. Imagine the scene: a hushed crowd, their faces illuminated by the flickering light of torches, drawn to witness the final moments of a condemned individual. The air hangs heavy with anticipation, a palpable tension that speaks volumes about the Roman appetite for public spectacle and the chilling efficiency of its justice system. The condemned, bound and perhaps blindfolded, is brought forth. There is no grand display of power, no elaborate ritual to precede this execution. The simplicity of the method underscores its brutal efficiency. The instrument itself is deceptively simple: a strong, often iron, collar designed to tighten around the neck with agonizing precision. It is a stark contrast to the elaborate and often theatrical nature of other Roman executions. A single executioner, perhaps hardened by years of witnessing such grim events, approaches the condemned. There is no flourish, no theatrical display of power, just a quiet, deliberate movement as the collar is placed around the neck. The condemned's body still awaits the final, irreversible act. The tightening of the collar is the crucial moment. It's not a sudden, sharp break, but a slow, constricting pressure steadily cutting off the flow of blood to the brain. The condemned feels the pressure mount, the breath becoming increasingly labored, the world beginning to dim around the edges. Unlike the prolonged agony of crucifixion or the slow suffocation of drowning, garroting offers a relatively swift end. The pressure on the neck is designed to quickly restrict blood flow, inducing unconsciousness relatively quickly. While undoubtedly painful, it avoids the drawn-out suffering inflicted by other methods. The executioner's hand, calloused and strong, remains steady on the tightening mechanism. The condemned's body convulses briefly, a final, desperate struggle against the relentless pressure. Then silence. The struggle ceases, the body goes limp, and the executioner releases the mechanism. The condemned's life has ended, not with the dramatic flourish of a sword or the drawn-out agony of other forms of punishment, but with a chillingly efficient dispatch. The speed of garroting, however, doesn't diminish its brutality. It's a violent act, a forceful termination of life. The image of the tightened collar, the silent struggle, and the sudden stillness of the body linger in the mind long after the event is over. Consider the contrast between garroting and other Roman punishments. Crucifixion was a prolonged ordeal, a public display of suffering designed to instill terror. Drowning was a slow, agonizing death by suffocation. Garroting, in comparison, was relatively swift, a more efficient method of ending a life. This efficiency, however, doesn't diminish its inherent brutality. It only emphasizes the Roman state's capacity for both cruelty and calculated dispatch. The absence of prolonged suffering, however, doesn't diminish the terror of the event. The swiftness of the death serves only to heighten the suddenness of the transition from life to death, a stark and unsettling contrast. The simplicity of the instrument and the method itself, devoid of any elaborate ritual, underscores the Roman state's cold efficiency in dispensing justice. It's a method that speaks to the pragmatism of the system, focusing on the rapid and effective removal of the condemned from society. The aftermath is as stark as the act itself. The body, lifeless, hangs limp, the collar a silent testament to the state's power. The crowd, having witnessed the swift end, disperses, leaving behind a quiet scene, a chilling reminder of the Roman justice system's capacity for both brutal efficiency and chilling understatement. The absence of prolonged suffering does not negate the terror of the moment. The speed of death only underscores the sudden, irreversible nature of the event. The simplicity of the method perhaps adds to its chilling effect. There's no elaborate spectacle, no drawn-out display of suffering, just the quiet, efficient removal of a life, a silent testament to the Roman state's power. The imagery is stark, leaving a lasting impression of stark efficiency and chilling finality. The lack of prolonged suffering, however, does not diminish the inherent violence of the act. Garroting, despite its relative swiftness, remains a violent and brutal method of execution, a forceful termination of life. Its efficiency, however, highlights the Roman state's capacity for both cruelty and calculated practicality, leaving a lasting impression of chilling efficiency and calculated brutality. The quiet, efficient dispatch contrasts sharply with the drawn-out agonies of other Roman executions, creating a distinct and unsettling image in the mind. As the echoes of the Roman Forum fade into the quiet stillness of the present, we are left to contemplate the enduring legacy of these ancient punishments. The brutal methods, the public spectacles, the chilling efficiency of the Roman justice system. They resonate even now, prompting reflection on the evolution of our own understanding of justice and punishment. These weren't merely acts of retribution. They were powerful symbols, carefully crafted to reinforce societal norms, instill fear, and publicly demonstrate the absolute authority of the Roman state. The meticulous cruelty, the calculated dehumanization, speaks volumes about the values and priorities of a society that thrived on spectacle and the unwavering display of power. Consider the symbolic weight of damnatio memoriae, the deliberate erasure of an individual from history. Even beyond the physical punishments, the very act of removing someone's memory, of rendering them invisible to future generations, speaks to the enduring power of social control and the state's capacity to shape historical narratives. This resonates even today in our understanding of how history is written and rewritten, how narratives are constructed and controlled. The public nature of many Roman punishments, from the spectacle of adbestias to the chilling efficiency of garroting, highlights the importance of public display in ancient Roman society. These events weren't simply acts of punishment. They were powerful performances designed to reinforce social order and deter future transgressions. The crowds that gathered, their faces illuminated by flickering torchlight, bore witness not just to an execution, but to a powerful statement about the state's authority and the consequences of defiance. The contrast between the relatively swift garroting and the prolonged agony of crucifixion, for instance, speaks to the range of methods employed and the careful calculation behind their selection. Each punishment was tailored to the crime, the offender, and the message the state sought to convey. This calculated approach underscores the sophisticated, albeit brutal, nature of the Roman justice system. Even the seemingly less dramatic punishments, such as infamia or exile, had profound societal consequences. The loss of social standing, the removal from one's community, the devastating impact on reputation and livelihood. These were powerful tools of control, capable of inflicting significant damage even without physical violence. They remind us that punishment extends beyond physical pain, encompassing social stigma, economic ruin, and the loss of personal identity. The enduring power of these Roman punishments lies not just in their brutality, but in the symbolic meanings they conveyed. They were more than mere acts of retribution. They were powerful statements about social order, the authority of the state, and the consequences of transgression. These symbols, though rooted in a vastly different time and culture, continue to resonate in our own discussions about justice, punishment, and the role of the state in maintaining social order. As we leave the world of ancient Roman punishments behind, let us carry with us a deeper understanding of the complexities of justice, the evolution of our own systems, and the enduring power of symbols and societal control. The echoes of the past, though faint, remind us of the enduring struggle to balance retribution, rehabilitation, and the preservation of social order. The stark images of Roman punishments, the chilling narratives of suffering and spectacle, serve not only to inform us about a distant past, but also to provoke thoughtful reflection on our own contemporary notions of justice and punishment. Let the quiet contemplation of these historical realities illuminate our understanding of the ever-evolving interplay between law, society, and the human condition. May the memory of these ancient practices serve not as a celebration of brutality, but as a poignant reminder of the enduring quest for a more just and humane world. Let us carry this understanding with us, not with a sense of morbid fascination, but with a quiet respect for the complexities of history and a steadfast commitment to a more just future. The quiet stillness of the present allows us to reflect on the evolution of our understanding of justice and the enduring lessons of the past. Let the echoes of ancient Rome inspire not fear, but a thoughtful consideration of the intricate relationship between power, punishment, and society. Rest now, and let the quiet peace of the night settle over you, carrying with it the wisdom gleaned from the echoes of a distant past.